lot of targets when new governments get in. One of the ones set by Labor is to have 1.2 million tech jobs by the year 2030. Joining me live is Ed Husic, Minister for Industry and Science. Thanks for your time. I'm not sure you'll be in the same role by 2030. Maybe you'll be PM and still doing regular interviews, I'm sure. How's the pledge tracking?
Good. So far, so good. I mean, we announced last year that we'd commit to 1.2 million tech-related jobs by 2030. We have people in those roles. When we announced it last year, about 860,000 people were performing those roles.
We're growing at about 45%.
935,000 over that time. Well, tech jobs are growing at about 8% compared to 4% in the broader economy.
I just mean over that total time, but yeah.
So we're making some headway, but I don't think it's, you've got to obviously be very cautious. Things can happen, changes can occur, but so far so good. And the reason why we've aimed for that target, Tom, is because these skills, we're not talking about tech jobs in tech companies. There are a lot of, even in your firm and in the firms that people work for that are watching, tech is an important skill.
Well, tech jobs are basically at every organisation.
Correct.
Right? So
and we need that skill across businesses.
Yeah. When you talk about that number there going up by whatever it was, 80,000 or something, aren't you going to smash through that? Do you need to get a bit more ambitious? Is 1.2 million sort of not even business as usual?
You would think that, but bear in mind you've also got to take into account that people will leave the workforce through retirement, and we have a sector that has traditionally been plagued by skill shortages. So we're looking at a number of things. One is obviously how we get people into those roles, particularly new people entering the workforce. So we're working on a digital apprenticeship program that we're hoping we'll get a report on in the next month. We're investing in TAFE fee-free places, and we're also reforming the visa system to bring talent here. But there's also a role to be played in people that are about to leave, if we can get them to stay in the workforce a bit longer and mentor new people coming through.
And it's not a hard physical job, so that'd be the hope, right?
And they're also really well-paying jobs and secure jobs in high demand. Average, I heard one figure, about $132,000 in salary. So they're very high-paying, very good jobs to go into.
Versus the average of 85 or something around the nation. Do we need to set a target around, you mentioned traineeships and migrants who are actually training, because competition's hotting up globally. So we've relied a lot on migrants in this area. We might not be able to in the future. Is that, do you have a set?
No, we don't have a
traineeship, who we're training to do it versus who we're importing, for want of a better word?
We don't necessarily have a set target in that response or in that respect, but I mean, I think there are also opportunities for us to get Australians who are currently performing in roles overseas to come back, and I've been having those discussions as well. There will be in certain target markets, off the top of my head, particularly India, where they've got a big base of talent that's very keen to work here. That will be important, but we're trying to do it in a balanced way. That is, train people up locally for these roles, and also, while they're being trained, bring talent in and pair that up.
Okay.
But again, the biggest thing to emphasise, this is an important skill for the longer term health of the economy. They're good paying jobs, secure work that will sharpen up our businesses and let them be able to take on international competition.
Big expansion of tech is artificial intelligence. It's the sort of buzzword at the moment. I'm interested around regulation on this. Is it something we can do a lot about, or is it about the global agreement and a lot of the places where it's actually developed? If they don't develop it in the right way, we can't really put the genie back in the bottle. Is that the reality of AI in terms of any big threats to, civilization itself, some people say?
I think the element of your question about the genie back in the bottle, I think is absolutely correct, because it's going to be very hard to do that. AI has been developed or in development since the late 50s. And what is
changing rapidly though, right?
Well, and what is happening with technology, in this technology, is what's happened more broadly with others. That is, it's a bit clunky to start with, but there'll be people refining it all the time. Now, there are some good things about technology that we all benefit from, but we've always got to have an eye to the risks and curb those. It's why we brought out our list of critical technologies, the updated list a few weeks ago, which we identified AI clearly as one of those technologies we've got to keep a close watch on. And we got the PM's National Science and Technology Council has prepared a report for the PM and government on generative AI, more commonly would be regarded or known as ChatGPT and like like tech or like functions or applications. We're going through the process of considering that report, and we'll announce shortly some other measures. But it will be important for governments across the world to think deeply about this issue.
Yeah, it's got to be in unison. We can't do it ourselves.
Where you can.
Like, you can stop a dodgy car getting in where the brakes don't work. AI is just so all-encompassing across areas. Is it a bit harder to regulate in that sense? Does that make sense?
I think there's both work to be done at home and abroad.
Okay.
I mean, I've been in this space arguing for ethical considerations of the application of technology for years. There's some stuff we can do here, bearing in mind internationally where you can work, because there'll be governments that have different philosophies on this stuff.
Yeah.
You'll have the EU that's taking a very forward-leaning approach on it, others who rely more on self-regulation. We've got to find a way that works for our country but fits in, for some of the reasons you've indicated in your questions, internationally as well.
Got about 30 seconds. Your colleague Andrew Leigh actually wrote a book on the chances of civilization ending. I mean, he's written a book on most things, hasn't he, Andrew Leigh? He reckons the most likely...
He's a very active writer.
He is. Hey, I'm jealous. I've tried and failed. He reckons the most likely way civilization would end is AI gone wrong. Do you share that level of concern for it?
No, I don't.
No?
Look, there are a lot of people that have different opinions in this space. Obviously, I think we do need to consider the way in which technology gets used, and governments have a leading role to play in trying to drive some of that thinking. And certainly our government is dedicating thought to that. And again, we'll release shortly where that should go. But, you know, Andrew and I have a lot of things we agree on, a lot of things we may not. But I do appreciate the fact that he leans in on public policy, and we do need a lot of that.
Ed Husic, thank you.
Thank you.